Hi, and welcome to another C++ Noob to Pro tutorial from Someone9031. In this tutorial, I'm going to be teaching you guys about scope in C++. Now, what scope is the area of your program where a variable can be used. So here, we have integer variable called x, and it's assigned to 10. And then we can print it out with the cout statement because we can access x. This statement is within the scope of x. Now this x variable is what we call a local variable. A local variable is a variable declared within a code block. And the code block is an area of code between an opening curly brace and a closing curly brace. That's called a code block. And with local variables, that means they're local to that code block, and that means they can only be accessed from within that code block. So if we had another function here, let's call it print, and then we did cout x. Okay, you can see we get an error here. Identifier x is undefined. Now you might be wondering, why? That's because this this x is in the scope of this print function, and that cannot access x because x is a local variable declared within the main function, and that means it can only be accessed within main and not outside main. And within a function, you can also create subscopes, which means you just put a curly brace, and then in here you've started a new scope. So you can now do whatever you want with variables now. And yeah, so we have another x in here, and we set that to 1. And so we don't get an error saying that we have two variables declared with the same name because we've started a brand new scope by using these. We've created a new code block. And then when we access it from out here, we're accessing this one because this statement is outside this code block and cannot access this variable. And the same goes for if statements, for loops, any kind of loop, or switch statements. Any variable that is declared inside an if statement, a loop, or a switch statement cannot be accessed outside those statements. And there's one solution to this, and it's by using something called a global scope or a global variable. And what a global variable is a variable that is not declared within a code block, which means any function can access it. So to do that, just go out of all these curly braces to somewhere that's not within a code block, and then you can just do this, like say 9. And if there's a local variable with the same name as a global variable, the local variable overrides the global variable, which in essence hides the global variable. So when we print out x here, we're printing out the local x, not the global x. And now you might be wondering, why don't we do all our variables in the global scope then? It's because that makes it dangerous. Any function can now access this x and could possibly make changes to it. And if it makes changes to it, when another function comes to access it, it could create wrong output or errors. And that could create hard debugging errors and bugs that are really hard to find. So that's why we don't use it. It's only legal in C++ because C++ is derived from the C programming language, and in C, global variables were necessary, really. And so that's why we don't do that. We use local variables or namespaces, which I will get to later on in another tutorial. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you like this video, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.